Lisa Martinez walked slowly through the busy halls of Nexus Prime space station. She carried her translation tablet close to her chest and kept her eyes down. The station buzzed with activity as aliens from dozens of different worlds moved past her. Some were tall and thin like walking sticks. Others were short and round like living boulders. A few had too many arms or eyes or both. Lisa had worked here for 3 years and still felt small among all these strange beings. She worked as a translator for the Galactic Council. Her job was simple but important. When different alien species could not understand each other, Lisa helped them talk. She spoke 12 different alien languages and was learning 3 more. Most aliens ignored her completely. To them, humans were just another weak species that had joined the galaxy recently. Lisa liked it that way. She preferred quiet corners and empty hallways. The loud noises and bright lights of the main areas made her nervous. But today she had to deliver an important message to the Kethran delegation. The Kethran Empire controlled many worlds and had a reputation for being fierce warriors. Lisa had never spoken to one directly before. The main concourse stretched out before her like a metal canyon. Hundreds of beings moved back and forth conducting business. Vendors sold strange foods that smelled like burning plastic. Others offered weapons that hummed with dangerous energy. Lisa took a deep breath and stepped into the crowd. She moved carefully between the larger aliens. A group of blue-skinned traders argued loudly about shipping costs. 3 insect-like beings clicked their mandibles in what might have been laughter. Lisa squeezed past them and checked her tablet. The Kethran delegation was meeting in conference room 7 on the upper level. As she walked toward the lift, Lisa noticed the crowd growing thicker. Many aliens had stopped to watch something happening near the center of the concourse. She tried to go around them, but the crowd blocked her path. Lisa sighed and decided to push through. She needed to deliver her message on time. She did not see the massive figure until it was too late. Lisa bumped into something that felt like a wall of living rock. Her tablet slipped from her hands and clattered on the metal floor. She looked up and up until she saw a face that belonged in nightmares. The Kethran warrior stood nearly 8 feet tall. His skin looked like black armor plates that had grown from his bones. Spikes jutted from his shoulders and elbows. His eyes glowed red in the dim light of the station. Muscles bulged under his natural armor like steel cables. This was Vextar, one of the most feared warriors in the Kethran military. Lisa scrambled to pick up her tablet. The screen had cracked when it hit the floor. She could see her reflection in the broken glass, distorted and frightened. She stood up slowly and opened her mouth to apologize. "I am sorry," she said in the Kethran language. "I did not see you. Please forgive my clumsiness." Vextar stared down at her with disgust. To him, this small human was nothing more than an insect that had dared to touch him. The very idea that such a weak creature would bump into a Kethran warrior was an insult that demanded punishment. "You dare touch me, human filth," Vextar growled. His voice sounded like grinding stone. "Your kind should crawl on their bellies when warriors pass." The crowd around them grew larger. Aliens of many species stopped to watch what would happen. Some pulled out recording devices. Others whispered to their companions. But none of them moved to help Lisa. In their experience, humans were weak and expendable. If one died, there were billions more where it came from. Lisa took a step backward. Her heart pounded in her chest like a trapped bird. She had heard stories about Kethran temper, but had never seen it firsthand. The warrior's claws extended from his fingertips like curved knives. Each one was as long as her thumb and sharp enough to cut through metal. "Please," Lisa whispered. "I meant no harm. I will leave now." But Vextar was beyond reason. In his culture, any sign of disrespect had to be answered with violence. The fact that this human had spoken to him at all was another insult. Humans were supposed to be silent in the presence of their betters. Without warning, Vextar's massive hand swept through the air. His backhand caught Lisa across the face with the force of a sledgehammer. The blow lifted her off her feet and sent her flying across the concourse. She hit the metal deck hard and rolled several times before coming to a stop. Lisa lay motionless on the cold floor. Blood trickled from her nose and the corner of her mouth. Her broken tablet lay scattered in pieces around her. Pain shot through her ribs where she had hit the ground. She tried to sit up, but the world spun around her like a broken ride. Vextar walked over to where she lay. He looked down at her with satisfaction. This was how things should be. The strong dominated the weak. The powerful crushed those who dared to challenge them. It was the natural order of the universe. Let this be a lesson to all humans, Vextar announced to the crowd. Know your place in the galaxy. You exist only because we allow it. The other aliens in the crowd murmured their agreement. Many species had suffered under Kethron aggression over the centuries, but they had learned to accept it as the price of peace. The Kethron Empire was too powerful to challenge directly. It was better to submit and hope for mercy. Lisa tried again to stand, but her legs would not support her weight. She could taste blood in her mouth and feel it running down her chin. Her vision blurred as tears mixed with the blood on her face. She had done nothing wrong except exist in the same space as a Kethron warrior. What none of the watching aliens knew was that Lisa wore a small emergency beacon on her belt. The device activated automatically when it detected signs of serious injury. At that moment, it began broadcasting a distress signal on a frequency that only human military forces could receive. The signal traveled through space at the speed of light, carrying with it Lisa's identification codes and her exact location. It painted a target on Nexus Prime that would soon bring consequences no one in that crowd could imagine. Lisa closed her eyes and tried to breathe through the pain. She had no way of knowing that help was already on the way. Deep in space, the USS Valiant drifted silently through the darkness. The ship was unlike anything most aliens had ever seen. Its hull absorbed light and energy, making it nearly invisible to sensors. Human military technology had advanced far, beyond what the galaxy expected from such a young species. On the bridge, Captain Helen Brooks monitored her instruments with practiced ease. The Valiant was conducting a classified mission in the Outer Rim territories. They were gathering intelligence on Kethron military movements and had been watching the Empire's activities for weeks. Suddenly, the communications officer looked up from his station. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency beacon. Human civilian, in distress on Nexus Prime Station." Captain Brooks frowned. Nexus Prime was supposed to be neutral territory. No military actions were permitted there under galactic law, but the emergency beacon carried the highest priority codes. A human life was in danger. "Identity of the civilian?" she asked. "Lisa Martinez, translator for the Galactic Council. The beacon indicates serious injury. Medical attention required immediately." Captain Brooks made her decision in seconds. Human lives always came first, regardless of politics or diplomatic concerns. She turned to her weapons officer. "Prepare. A boarding party. I want our best people on this. Who do we have available?" "SEAL Team 7 is on board, Captain. They just finished training exercises yesterday." "Perfect. Get them ready to deploy immediately." In the ship's lower decks, 6 figures moved with deadly efficiency. SEAL Team 7 was among the elite of human special forces. Each member had trained for years to reach this level of skill. They were the tip of the spear, the ones called when normal soldiers were not enough. Chief Petty Officer Jake Morrison led the team. He was a veteran of dozens of operations across human space. His calm demeanor hid a mind that could plan and execute complex missions under extreme pressure. Jake had never lost a team member and did not plan to start now. Carlos Rivera handled explosives and demolitions. He could make a bomb from spare parts or disable enemy weapons with surgical precision. His hands were steady, and his knowledge of chemistry was encyclopedic. Carlos had once brought down an entire enemy base using nothing but cleaning supplies and wire. Amy Walsh was their sniper and reconnaissance specialist. She could hit targets at distances that seemed impossible. Her rifle was custom built to her exact specifications, and she treated it like a trusted friend. Amy had once eliminated 3 enemy officers with 3 shots fired in under 2 seconds. Ben Carter served as their medic and field surgeon. He could perform complex medical procedures under fire, while enemy bullets flew overhead. Ben had saved countless lives during his career and could stabilize even the most serious injuries. His medical kit contained equipment that was decades ahead of anything most aliens possessed. Ryan Kelly was their technology specialist. He could hack any computer system, disable security networks, and turn enemy technology against itself. Ryan's cybernetic implants allowed him to interface directly with electronic systems. He could reprogram alien computers faster than their own engineers. Danny Brooks carried the heavy weapons and provided fire support. His suit was equipped with armor and weapons that could punch through tank plating. Danny had the strength of 3 normal men thanks to his powered exoskeleton. He served as the team's shield and hammer when diplomacy failed. The team gathered in the armory to prepare their equipment. Each member wore a suit of advanced powered armor that enhanced their strength, speed, and durability. The suits could survive in vacuum, underwater, or in toxic atmospheres. Built-in medical systems could treat injuries and inject combat drugs when needed. Jake checked his sidearm, a pistol that fired ammunition designed to penetrate any known armor. Carlos packed his explosives carefully in specialized containers. Amy assembled her rifle with movements that seemed almost ritual. Ben organized his medical supplies with obsessive precision. Ryan activated his hacking tools and ran diagnostic checks. Danny loaded heavy ammunition into his squad support weapon. "Listen up," Jake said as they finished their preparations. "We have a human civilian down on Nexus Prime. Someone hurt one of ours and that cannot stand. We go in quiet, assess the situation, and extract our person. Rules of engagement are simple. Anyone who threatens a human citizen becomes a legitimate target." The team nodded their understanding. They had trained for this exact scenario hundreds of times. Human civilians were to be protected at all costs, regardless of the political situation. "Intel suggests Kethron involvement," Jake continued. "Remember, these aliens think they're the toughest species in the galaxy. They've never faced human military forces in actual combat. Time to educate them." The Valiant's docking bay opened silently into space. 6 figures in matte black armor launched themselves toward Nexus Prime using personal propulsion units. They moved through the vacuum like deadly shadows, invisible to the station's outdated sensors. The station's docking control never saw them coming. Ryan Kelly had already hacked their systems and created false records showing routine maintenance. Shuttles. As far as the computers knew, nothing unusual was happening. The team entered through a cargo bay that Ryan had unlocked remotely. They moved through the station's service corridors with perfect coordination. Their suits mapped the interior layout and identified potential threats automatically. Jake monitored communications traffic and station security feeds. He could see crowds gathered in the main concourse, but could not yet determine what had happened. The team needed to get closer before making any moves. Amy found a sniper position overlooking the main area. From her hidden location, she could see Lisa Martinez lying motionless on the deck. Blood covered her face and her clothes were torn. Standing over her was a massive Kethron warrior who seemed to be enjoying himself. "Target acquired," Amy whispered into her communicator. "One hostile Kethron approximately 8 feet tall. Multiple witnesses present. Victim appears severely injured." Jake's jaw tightened as he received the report. Someone had assaulted a human civilian on neutral territory. The Kethron warrior was now actively threatening Lisa while she lay helpless. "On the ground." "Copy that. All units move to assault positions. We end this now." The team flowed through the station like water finding cracks in a dam. They took positions around the concourse invisible to the aliens below. Each member had a clear field of fire and multiple escape routes mapped. Jake Morrison stepped out of the shadows and walked toward the crowd. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence as aliens noticed his approach. The human warrior moved with absolute confidence like a predator that had never known fear. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when someone hurt a human citizen. Jake Morrison moved through the crowd like a ghost in black armor. His suit's advanced system scanned every face, every weapon, every potential threat in the area. The aliens around him had no idea they were being watched by one of humanity's most dangerous predators. From her sniper position, Amy Walsh tracked the Kethron warrior through her scope. Vextar stood over Lisa's motionless form, laughing with 3 other Kethron soldiers who had joined him. They spoke in their native language about human weakness and how easy it was to break their fragile bones. "Multiple hostiles confirmed," Amy reported quietly. 4 Kethran total. 3 additional warriors just arrived to support the primary target. They appear to be celebrating. Ryan Kelly had found a computer terminal in a maintenance closet. His cybernetic implants interfaced directly with the station's network, giving him access to surveillance systems, communication logs, and security records. What he found made his blood run cold. "Jake, you need to hear this," Ryan whispered through the team's encrypted channel. "I'm pulling up security footage from the past hour. This wasn't random. The Kethran have been targeting smaller species all day. They beat up a Zephyrian merchant an hour ago. Before that, they threatened a group of Centauri diplomats. The footage showed a pattern of systematic intimidation. The Kethran delegation had been moving through the station like a pack of predators, using their size and reputation to terrorize anyone they considered weak. They had chosen their victims carefully, selecting species that were too small or peaceful to fight back. Ben Carter monitored Lisa's vital signs using his suit's medical scanners. Even from a distance, he could detect her breathing pattern, heart rate, and blood oxygen levels. The readings were not good. "She's in bad shape," Ben reported. "Possible concussion, definitely some broken ribs. Blood loss is moderate but steady. She needs medical attention within the next 20 minutes or we could lose her." Carlos Rivera positioned himself near the station's main power junction. If things went wrong, he could plunge the entire level into darkness in seconds. His explosives were carefully placed to disable key systems without harming civilians. Carlos had mapped every electrical conduit and support beam within 100 meters. Danny Brooks took position behind a cargo container that gave him clear sightlines to all 4 Kethran warriors. His heavy weapons could punch through their natural armor like paper. The aliens had no idea they were standing in a kill zone designed by human military engineers. Jake reached the edge of the crowd and stopped. He could see Lisa clearly now. She was trying to sit up but kept falling back down. Blood covered half her face and her left arm hung at an unnatural angle. The sight filled him with cold rage that he kept carefully controlled. Vextar noticed the crowd growing quiet and looked around. His eyes fell on the human figure in black armor standing at the edge of the circle. The Kethran warrior had never seen anything like Jake's combat suit before. It absorbed light and seemed to bend shadows around itself. "Another human comes to play," Vextar announced to his companions. "Perhaps this one will provide better sport than the female." The other Kethran laughed and moved to surround Jake. They were confident in their superiority. No species had ever challenged them successfully in hand-to-hand combat. Their natural armor and massive strength made them nearly invincible in close quarters fighting. Jake activated his suit's external speakers and addressed the Kethran in their own language. His pronunciation was perfect, learned from years of intelligence gathering and military analysis. "I am Chief Petty Officer Jake Morrison of the Human Space Navy. You have assaulted a human civilian on neutral territory. Surrender immediately and you will be treated according to galactic law." Vextar's laughter boomed across the concourse. The idea that a human would demand his surrender was the funniest thing he had heard in years. Other aliens in the crowd began to back away, sensing that something dangerous was about to happen. Ryan Kelly continued his digital assault on the station's systems. He discovered that the security chief, Zoltak, had been paid by the Kethran to ignore their activities. Banking records showed regular payments over the past 6 months. The corruption went all the way to the top of station command. "Station security is compromised," Ryan reported. "The security chief is on Kethran payroll. We're on our own here." Amy Walsh tracked her scope across the crowd, identifying potential witnesses and recording everything for later analysis. She counted representatives from 16 different species watching the confrontation. This would be seen across the galaxy within hours. Multiple species observing, Amy noted. "This is going to be very public. Whatever we do here will be known everywhere by tomorrow." Jake understood the implications immediately. This was not just about rescuing Lisa anymore. This was about sending a message to every species in the galaxy about what happened when humans were threatened. The Kethran Empire had built their reputation on fear and intimidation. It was time to show them what real fear looked like. Copy that. Full documentation protocol. Make sure everyone sees this. Ben Carter had been analyzing, the station's medical facilities through the computer network. What he found was disappointing but not surprising. The medical bay was equipped to handle basic injuries for most alien species, but had no supplies suitable for human physiology. Station medical is inadequate for human treatment, Ben reported. We'll need to get her back to the ship for proper care. Carlos Rivera finished placing his charges and ran final diagnostics on the explosive devices. Each one was programmed to activate on his command and could be triggered individually or all at once. He had enough firepower to disable the entire station if necessary. Demo charges in place and ready, Carlos confirmed. I can take down their power grid, life support, or communications on your command. Danny Brooks checked his ammunition count and verified his targeting systems. His heavy weapon carried rounds designed to penetrate Kethran armor based on intelligence gathered from previous encounters. Each bullet contained a depleted uranium core surrounded by explosive gel. Heavy, weapons ready. I have clear shots on all 4 targets. Recommend we end this quickly before more hostiles arrive. Jake Morrison looked at the Kethran warriors surrounding him and made his final assessment. They were large, strong, and confident in their abilities. They had probably never lost a fight in their entire lives. They were also about to learn the difference between being a predator and being prey. Vextar raised his massive fist and took a step toward Jake. His claws extended fully, each one sharp enough to slice through metal. The other Kethran moved to attack positions, preparing to tear the human apart. Last chance, Jake said calmly. Stand down now or face the consequences. Vextar's answer was to kick Lisa in the ribs while staring directly at Jake. The sound of breaking bones echoed across the silent concourse. Lisa's scream of pain cut through the air like a knife. Jake Morrison's expression never changed, but every member of his team felt the shift in his voice when he spoke again. Light them up. The moment Vextar's foot connected with Lisa's ribs, everything changed. The casual violence, the arrogant dismissal of human life, the complete disregard for basic decency, it all crystallized into a single moment of absolute clarity for Jake Morrison. Jake's hand moved to his sidearm with fluid precision. The weapon cleared its holster in less than a second. His targeting system locked onto Vextar's center mass automatically. 3 shots fired so quickly they sounded like a single, extended explosion. The rounds hit Vextar in the chest with devastating effect. Each bullet was designed specifically to penetrate Kethran armor, based on years of intelligence gathering. The depleted uranium cores punched through his natural plating like it was made of paper. The explosive gel inside each round detonated, on impact creating massive trauma to internal organs. Vextar staggered backward, looking down at his chest in disbelief. 3 smoking holes had appeared in his supposedly impenetrable armor. Black blood poured from the wounds, pooling on the metal deck beneath his feet. He had never been injured in combat before. The concept that a human weapon could hurt him was beyond his understanding. Impossible, Vextar gasped, his voice now weak and confused. Nothing can pierce Kethran armor, nothing. Jake's voice was cold as space vacuum when he replied. You should have done your homework. The other 3 Kethran warriors reacted with rage and shock. Their leader, the mighty Vextar, was bleeding and wounded by a human. It violated everything they believed about their place in the galaxy. They reached for their weapons, intending to tear Jake apart with their bare hands. That was when they noticed the red dots dancing across their bodies. Amy Walsh's sniper rifle was a work of art disguised as a weapon of war. Built specifically for long-range assassination, it could punch through tank armor at distances exceeding 2 kilometers. From her position overlooking the concourse, the 4 Kethran warriors might as well have been standing in her living room. The first Kethran, to draw his weapon, died instantly. Amy's shot took his head clean off his shoulders, the high-velocity round continuing through 2 support pillars before finally stopping in the station's hull. The headless body stood for a moment, then collapsed like a falling tree. Carlos Rivera's demolition charges activated simultaneously throughout the concourse. Strategic explosions sealed off escape routes and created choke points that funneled any reinforcements into predetermined kill zones. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across the walls as the main power grid fluctuated. The crowd of alien spectators screamed and scattered in every direction. Some tried to flee through the passages that Carlos had just blocked. Others pressed, themselves against walls, hoping to avoid the suddenly lethal humans who had appeared from nowhere. Danny Brooks emerged from behind his cargo container like an armored titan. His heavy squad weapon spun up with a distinctive whining sound that promised death to anyone in front of it. The remaining 2 Kethran warriors found themselves facing a human who looked like something from their worst nightmares. "Human scum," one of the warriors snarled, raising a massive blade that gleamed with energy. "You will pay for spilling Kethran blood." Danny's response was a burst of automatic fire that lasted exactly 3 seconds. 20 rounds of depleted uranium ammunition reduced the Kethran warrior to a scattered collection of armor fragments and organic matter. The energy blade clattered uselessly to the floor, its wielder no longer existing in any meaningful sense. The last surviving Kethran looked around desperately for support that would never come. His 3 companions were dead or dying. Human warriors in black armor surrounded him on all sides. Red laser dots from unseen weapons painted his body like tiny stars. Ryan Kelly's voice echoed through the station's communication system as he broadcast live footage of the confrontation to news networks across the galaxy. His message was simple and direct. This is what happens when you attack human civilians. Consider this a learning experience. Ben Carter reached Lisa's side and immediately began medical treatment. His suit's built-in scanners gave him a complete picture of her injuries. Within seconds, 3 broken ribs, moderate concussion, dislocated shoulder, and significant bruising. Serious but not life-threatening if treated properly. "Easy there," Ben said softly, as he injected Lisa with pain medication and stabilizing drugs. "You're safe now. We're going to get you out of here." Lisa's eyes fluttered open and she saw a human face looking down at her through an armored visor. For a moment she thought she was dreaming. Then she heard the sounds of combat and weapons fire echoing around her. "Who are you?" she whispered through lips swollen from Vextar's blow. "Friends," Ben replied as he worked to stabilize her injuries. "American military. Someone hurt one of ours and we take that personally." Jake Morrison walked slowly toward the last surviving Kethran warrior. His weapon remained ready but not aimed directly at the alien. The message was clear: surrender or join your companions in death. "Your name and rank," Jake demanded in perfect Kethran. "Sub-Commander Thecalon of the Imperial Guard," the alien replied, his voice shaking with a mixture of rage and fear. "You have committed an act of war against the Kethran Empire. Our fleets will reduce your homeworld to ash." Jake's laugh was utterly without humor. "Your empire just lost 4 warriors to 6 humans in under 30 seconds. You might want to reconsider your strategic assessment." Vextar was still alive, but barely conscious. His breathing came in short gasps as his life drained away through the holes in his chest. He stared at Jake with eyes that no longer held arrogance, only confusion and growing fear. "How?" Vextar managed to ask. "How did you become so strong?" Jake knelt beside the dying Kethran warrior and spoke quietly, so only he could hear. "We didn't become strong. We were always strong. You just never bothered to find out." Security Chief Zoltak finally arrived with a squad of station guards. He took one look at the scene and immediately realized his carefully constructed arrangement with the Kethran was now worthless. 3 dead warriors lay scattered across the concourse, while humans in advanced combat armor maintained complete tactical control. "Stand down immediately," Zoltak ordered, his voice lacking conviction. "You are in violation of station neutrality protocols." Ryan Kelly's voice responded through the station's speakers with a complete breakdown of Zoltak's financial records. Bank transfers, bribery payments, and corruption evidence flooded the screens throughout the concourse. "Security Chief Zoltak has been accepting bribes from the Kethran delegation for 6 months, Ryan announced. He deliberately ignored their attacks on other species. I think his authority here is somewhat questionable." The alien spectators who had witnessed the confrontation began talking among themselves. Many recognized species that had suffered under Kethran intimidation. The casual way these humans had eliminated seasoned warriors was beyond anything they had imagined possible. Amy Walsh's voice crackled through Jake's communicator. Multiple contacts approaching from level 7. Looks like more Kethran reinforcements. Estimate 12 hostiles armed with standard Imperial weapons. Jake Morrison stood up and checked his ammunition count. Plenty left for whatever came next. Around him, his team maintained their positions with professional calm. They had done this type of work many times before. Copy that. Let them come. Time to finish the lesson. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's reputation for being peaceful had been a choice, not a weakness. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the upper levels of Nexus Prime as 12 Kethran Imperial guards rushed toward the concourse. They had heard the weapons fire and come running to support their fallen comrades. What they found waiting for them was a lesson in human warfare that would reshape galactic politics forever. Amy Walsh tracked the approaching reinforcements through her scope as they descended the main stairway. Her position gave her perfect sight lines to the entire upper level. The Kethran moved in standard Imperial formation, shields raised and weapons ready. They had no idea they were walking into a carefully prepared killing field. 12 hostiles. Confirmed, Amy reported calmly. Standard Imperial Guard formation, heavy shields and plasma weapons. They're moving down the central stairway in formation Alpha 7. Jake Morrison studied the tactical display on his visor. The Kethran were following their military doctrine exactly as human intelligence had predicted. They were brave, disciplined, and completely unprepared for what they were about to face. Amy, take the shot when ready. Carlos, light up their formation after Amy fires. Danny, cover the left flank. Ryan, kill their communications. Let's show them how humans fight. The first Kethran to die never saw the bullet coming. Amy's shot traveled nearly 300 meters and punched through his shield like it was made of paper. The round continued through his chest armor and out his back, spraying the warrior behind him with black blood and armor fragments. Before the echoes of the rifle shot had faded, Carlos Rivera's demolition charges detonated in sequence along the stairway. The carefully placed explosives had been designed to channel the blast upward and inward, creating a devastating funnel of destruction. 3 more Kethran warriors vanished in the explosion, their bodies torn apart by shrapnel and overpressure. The surviving Imperial guards scattered and took cover behind overturned tables and support pillars. They began returning fire with their plasma weapons, filling the air with bolts of superheated energy. The shots that hit human armor simply deflected harmlessly away. Danny Brooks stepped into the open and unleashed his heavy weapon on full automatic. The depleted uranium rounds chewed through Kethran cover like it was made of cardboard. 2 warriors who thought they were safely hidden behind a reinforced barrier discovered that human ammunition could punch through 3 feet of composite armor. Ryan Kelly had infiltrated the Kethran communication network within seconds of the fighting starting. Their tactical frequencies went silent as he flooded them with white noise and false commands. The Imperial guards found themselves deaf and blind, unable to coordinate their attacks or call for backup. Communications down, Ryan reported. They're operating independently now. No coordination between units. The Kethran had trained for centuries to fight other alien species using conventional tactics. They relied on their superior strength, natural armor, and disciplined formations to overwhelm enemies. But humans fought differently. They used technology, precision, and overwhelming firepower to eliminate threats before they became dangerous. Ben Carter continued treating Lisa while the battle raged around them. His medical scanner showed her condition stabilizing as the drugs took effect. She was conscious now and watching the firefight with wide eyes. "Are we winning?" Lisa asked weakly. Ben smiled behind his visor. "Ma'am, this isn't a fight. This is a demonstration." Jake Morrison moved through the chaos like a ghost. His armor's active camouflage bent light around him, making him nearly invisible to enemy sensors. He flanked the remaining Kethran positions and eliminated 3 warriors with precise headshots before they even knew he was there. The alien spectators pressed themselves against the walls and watched in stunned silence as human military precision dismantled the feared Imperial Guard. Many had witnessed Kethran dominance for decades. Seeing their warriors cut down so easily was like watching the laws of physics change. Sub-Commander Theclon crouched behind an overturned vendor stall, his hands shaking as he tried to reload his plasma rifle. Half his unit was dead, and the other half was pinned down by human fire. Nothing in his military training had prepared him for this level of technological superiority. A red laser dot appeared on the wall next to his head. Then another, and another. Declan looked around and realized he was being targeted by multiple human weapons simultaneously. Any movement would result in instant death. "Surrender now or die where you stand." Jake Morrison's voice echoed from speakers throughout the concourse. "You have 10 seconds to decide." The remaining Kethron looked at each other desperately. Their shields were shattered, their communications were down, and their weapons seemed useless against human armor. They had two choices: surrender or be slaughtered like their comrades. One young warrior tried to make a run for the exit. Amy Walsh's rifle spoke once and he collapsed after taking 3 steps. The message was clear. There would be no escape. 5 seconds, Jake announced. Declan threw down his weapon and raised his hands. The other surviving Imperial guards followed his example. They had been taught that death in battle was preferable to surrender, but this had not been a battle. This had been an execution. "Wise choice," Jake said as his team moved to secure the prisoners. "Ryan, patch me through to Kethran Command. I think we need to have a conversation." Within minutes, Ryan had established a direct communication link to the Kethran Imperial flagship in orbit around Nexus Prime. The face that appeared on the main screen belonged to Fleet Admiral Mordak, Supreme Commander of the Kethran Expeditionary Force. "I am Admiral Mordak of the Imperial Navy. You will release our warriors immediately or face the full might of the Kethran Empire." Jake Morrison stepped into view of the camera, his armor still stained with alien blood. Behind him, the bodies of dead Imperial guards lay scattered across the concourse like broken toys. "I am Chief Petty Officer Jake Morrison, Human Space Navy. Your warriors attacked a human civilian. They are now dead. Your survivors are prisoners. You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces from this system, or we will consider it an act of war." Admiral Mordak's eyes widened as he took in the scene behind Jake. 16 of his finest warriors had been eliminated by 6 humans. The implications were staggering. "Impossible," Mordak whispered. "The Imperial Guard are the elite of our military. They cannot be defeated by inferior species." Jake's response was to gesture toward the carnage around him. "Your evidence suggests otherwise. We have superior weapons, superior training, and superior tactics. Your choice is simple. Leave now, or find out what a real war looks like." Amy Walsh was already tracking the Kethran fleet through her scope's enhanced sensors. 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen escort vessels hung in orbit above the station. Impressive by galactic standards, but nothing compared to what humanity could. "Deploy if threatened. Enemy fleet holding position," Amy reported. "No sign of movement yet. They're probably trying to figure out what just happened down here." Carlos Rivera had placed additional charges throughout the station during the firefight. If the Kethran decided to attack, he could disable their boarding parties before they even reached the docking bays. "Demo charges ready," Carlos confirmed. "If they want to play, I can make this station very uncomfortable for unwanted guests." Danny Brooks reloaded his heavy weapon and checked his ammunition supply. He had enough firepower to hold off another assault for hours if necessary. The Kethran would pay dearly for every meter they tried to advance. Ben Carter finished stabilizing Lisa's injuries and prepared her for transport back to the Valiant. She would need surgery to repair the damage, but she would survive. The important thing now was getting her away from the combat zone. "Patient ready for extraction," Ben reported. "She's stable but needs proper medical facilities." Ryan Kelly continued monitoring galactic news networks as reports of the confrontation spread across known space. The footage he had broadcast was being replayed on dozens of worlds. The galaxy was watching humanity's first real display of military power. "News networks are going crazy," Ryan noted. "Every species in the sector is talking about this. The Kethran reputation just took a major hit." Jake Morrison looked at the surviving Kethran prisoners and made a decision that would echo across the galaxy for generations. He activated the station's communication system and addressed every being on Nexus Prime. "Attention all species. Humanity extends its protection to any peaceful being who requests it. Those who threaten human citizens or our allies will face The consequences you have witnessed today. The age of Kethran intimidation is over. The demonstration was complete. The galaxy had seen what happened when someone hurt a human. Word of the confrontation spread through Nexus Prime like wildfire. Within minutes, representatives from dozens of species had gathered in the concourse to witness the aftermath. What they saw challenged everything they thought they knew about. The balance of power in the galaxy. The bodies of Kethran Imperial Guards lay scattered across the metal deck like broken monuments to a fallen empire. These were the warriors that had terrorized the Outer Rim for centuries. They had been the unstoppable force that other species feared to challenge. Now they were nothing more than reminders of what happened when arrogance met reality. Ambassador, Veltar of the Centauri Federation pushed through the crowd, his three eyes wide with disbelief. The Centauri had suffered under Kethran aggression for generations. Their peaceful nature made them easy targets for Imperial raids and intimidation. Seeing their oppressors dead at human hands was like watching a miracle. Is it true? Veltar asked in accented standard. Did humans really defeat the Imperial Guard? Jake Morrison stood among the carnage, his black armor reflecting the emergency lighting. Blood stained his gauntlets, but his posture remained calm and professional. To the gathering aliens, he looked like death itself given form. The Kethran attacked a human civilian, Jake replied simply. We responded appropriately. Trade Representative Kixna of the Zephyrian Merchants Guild stepped forward hesitantly. Her people were small and peaceful, specializing in commerce, rather than warfare. They had paid tribute to the Kethran for decades to avoid destruction. What happens now? Kixna asked. The Empire will send fleets to avenge this insult. They have never accepted defeat. Amy Walsh's voice crackled through the team's communication system from her overwatch position. Speaking of fleets, I'm tracking movement from the Kethran vessels in orbit. Looks like they're repositioning for possible bombardment. Jake activated his suit's external speakers and addressed the gathered crowd. His words would be recorded and transmitted across the galaxy within hours. The Kethran Empire has built its power on fear and intimidation. They prey on the weak because they believe might makes right. Today they learned that humanity disagrees with that philosophy. Admiral Mordak's face appeared on communication screens throughout the concourse as Ryan Kelly patched him through the station's network. The Kethran commander's features were twisted with rage and humiliation. You have signed your species' death warrant, human, Mordak snarled. No one kills Imperial Guards and lives. We will reduce your homeworld to radioactive ash. Jake's response was to gesture toward the prisoners kneeling under Danny Brooks's watchful guard. Sub-Commander Theclon and his surviving warriors looked broken and defeated. Their legendary confidence had evaporated along with their belief in Kethran's superiority. Your elite guards thought the same thing, Jake said calmly. Would you like to discuss the matter in person? The crowd of alien observers muttered among themselves as they processed what they were witnessing. For the first time in their memory, someone was talking back to the Kethran Empire. Not just talking back, but actively threatening them with military force. Dr. Zeth Mara of the Arconian Science Collective had been analyzing the human weapons and armor using portable scanners. Her readings defied everything she thought she knew about galactic technology levels. Impossible, Dr. Zeth Mara whispered as she studied her data. Their energy signatures are decades ahead of anything in our databases. How did such a young species develop such advanced military technology? Ben Carter finished preparing Lisa for medical evacuation, while maintaining awareness of the political drama unfolding around them. His primary concern was getting her to proper medical facilities, but he understood the larger implications of what was happening. Transport to the Valiant is ready, Ben reported. Patient is stable but needs surgical intervention within the next 4 hours. Carlos Rivera monitored the Kethran fleet movements through his demolition control systems. If they decided to attack the station, his charges could disable key systems and give the human team tactical advantages, but he hoped it would not come to that. Enemy fleet is moving into bombardment positions, Carlos noted. They're probably trying to decide if they want to risk attacking a station full of neutral civilians. Ryan Kelly had been monitoring galactic communication networks since the firefight ended. The responses from various species were revealing and sometimes surprising. Many worlds that had suffered under Kethran aggression were openly celebrating. "Intelligence reports coming in from across the sector," Ryan announced. "The Valdris Assembly just declared humanity a valued ally. The Tauri Confederation is requesting formal diplomatic contact. Even the hegemony is expressing interest in trade agreements." Jake Morrison understood that they had reached a critical moment. The next few decisions would determine humanity's place in galactic politics for generations to come. They could withdraw, quietly, and maintain their low profile, or they could use this opportunity to establish themselves as a major power. The decision was made for him when a new voice joined the communication channel. Captain Helen Brooks of the USS Valiant had been monitoring the situation and was ready to provide backup if needed. "Chief Morrison, this is Captain Brooks. Be advised that Human High Command has been following your situation. You are authorized to take whatever action you deem necessary to protect human interests." The alien representatives in the concourse looked at each other with growing understanding. This was not just a rescue mission gone wrong. This was humanity announcing its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. "Ambassador," Veltar approached Jake cautiously, his diplomatic training overcoming his natural fear. The Centauri had always believed that peaceful negotiation was preferable to violence, but they had also learned the hard way that bullies only understood strength. "Chief Morrison," Veltar said formally, "the Centauri Federation would like to discuss mutual defense agreements. We have resources that might be of interest to your people." Other aliens began stepping forward with similar offers. The Zephyrian Merchants Guild mentioned trade opportunities. The Arconian Science Collective proposed technology exchanges. Species that had been isolated and afraid for decades suddenly saw an opportunity for protection and partnership. Admiral Mordic watched this display with growing alarm. The Kethran Empire's power had always depended on keeping other species divided and afraid. If they united under human protection, the balance of power would shift dramatically. "You are making a grave mistake," Mordak warned the alien representatives. "The Empire has fleets that can blockade your homeworlds. We have armies that can occupy your territories. Aligning with these humans will only bring you suffering." Jake Morrison's laugh echoed through the concourse as he responded to the Kethran. Admiral's threats. The sound was utterly without fear or concern, as if the idea of Kethran military power was amusing rather than frightening. "Admiral, your best warriors lasted 30 seconds against 6 of our people. Your Imperial Guard was eliminated by weapons you didn't even know existed. Are you really sure you want to find out what our fleets can do?" Amy Walsh had been tracking additional ships entering the system through her enhanced sensors. The signatures were familiar and welcome. Human military vessels responding to the crisis. "Multiple contacts jumping in at the system edge," Amy reported. "IFF signals confirm human fleet elements. Looks like the cavalry is arriving." The alien observers craned their necks to look at the communication screens as new ships appeared on the tactical displays. 3 human destroyers and a heavy cruiser had just translated into normal space and were moving toward Nexus Prime at high speed. Admiral Mordak's expression changed as he realized the implications. The humans had not sent a single stealth ship for a rescue mission. They had deployed a full battle group. This was not a random encounter. This was a planned demonstration of force. "You orchestrated this," Mordak accused. "This entire situation was a trap." Jake Morrison's smile was visible through his visor as he delivered the final revelation. "Admiral, did you really think we would send our people into harm's way without backup? Every human civilian carries a beacon that alerts our military to threats. You attacked one of our translators and triggered a response that your intelligence services never detected. The reckoning had arrived for the Kethran Empire, and the galaxy would never be the same." The news of the Nexus Prime incident traveled across the galaxy faster than light itself. Within 6 hours, every major news network in known space was broadcasting footage of human warriors eliminating Kethran Imperial Guards. The images shocked billions of beings who had never imagined such a reversal of power was possible. On the Kethran homeworld of Morketh, Emperor Vashitok watched the recordings with growing fury. The throne room fell silent as courtiers and military advisors witnessed their supposedly invincible warriors being cut down like grain before a scythe. The implications were staggering and terrifying. "How is this possible?" Emperor Vashtok demanded, his voice echoing off the metal walls of his palace. "The Imperial Guard are the finest warriors in the galaxy. They have never been defeated in open combat." General Carthex, Supreme Commander of Kethron military forces, studied the tactical recordings with professional interest. His analysis revealed disturbing truths about human capabilities that their intelligence services had completely missed. "My Emperor, their technology is far more advanced than our estimates suggested. Their weapons penetrated Kethron armor like it was cloth. Their coordination was perfect. Most importantly, they showed no fear whatsoever when facing our warriors." The Emperor's claws scraped against his throne as he processed this information. The Kethron Empire had built its reputation on the absolute belief that no species could match them in individual combat. That belief had just been shattered by a handful of humans in black armor. Meanwhile, on the peaceful world of Centauri Prime, celebration filled the streets as news of Kethron defeat spread. The Centauri had endured centuries of imperial taxation and intimidation. Seeing their oppressors humbled brought tears of joy to millions of citizens. Ambassador Veltar stood before the Centauri High Council, his report causing unprecedented excitement among the normally calm leadership. For the first time in generations, they were discussing military alliance rather than tribute payments. "The humans demonstrated capabilities that exceed our most optimistic projections," Veltar reported. "Their military technology appears to be generations ahead of anything we have encountered. More importantly, they seem willing to protect species that request their aid." Council Elder Nixara raised a tentacle in question. "What do they want in return? No species offers military protection without expecting something back." Veltar's response surprised everyone in the chamber. According to their statements, they want nothing except peaceful relations and mutual respect. They appear to operate on principles we had thought extinct in galactic politics. Similar conversations were taking place across dozens of worlds, as species that had suffered under Kethron aggression suddenly saw hope for the first time in decades. The Zephyrian Merchants Guild called emergency sessions to discuss trade agreements with humanity. The Arconian Science Collective began preparing cultural exchange proposals. But not every species viewed the human demonstration positively. On the industrial world of Thorax 7th, the ruling hegemony watched the footage with calculating eyes. They had built their own empire through conquest and intimidation, and the emergence of a powerful human military represented a potential threat to their expansion plans. Hegemon Brutus Rex studied intelligence reports about human settlements and military positions. His species respected strength above all else, and the humans had certainly demonstrated that. But they had also shown they were willing to protect weaker species, which could complicate hegemony expansion. "These humans could be valuable allies or dangerous enemies," Brutus Rex mused to his war council. "We must determine which they will be before committing to any course of action." Back on Nexus Prime, the political ramifications continued to unfold as more species arrived to witness the aftermath. The station had become an impromptu diplomatic center, as representatives sought to make contact with human authorities. Admiral Mordak's fleet remained in orbit, but their threatening posture had changed to one of defensive caution. The arrival of human warships had shifted the tactical balance dramatically. The Kethron vessels were outnumbered and outgunned for the first time in their military history. Captain Helen Brooks of the USS Valiant maintained open communication channels with both the Kethron fleet and the various alien representatives on the station. Her calm professionalism contrasted sharply with the emotional responses of other species. "Admiral Mordak, you have two choices," Captain Brooks stated during their latest conversation. "You can withdraw your forces peacefully and we will consider this matter closed. Or you can attempt military action and discover why human warships are designed differently than anything else in the galaxy." The Kethron admiral found himself in an impossible position. His warriors were dead, his reputation was destroyed, and his enemies were offering him a way out that preserved some measure of honor. But accepting defeat would mean acknowledging human superiority. something that went against every fiber of Kethran culture. On Earth, the human high command watched the developing situation with careful attention. They had always known this day would come, the moment when humanity's true capabilities would be revealed to the galaxy. The question was whether other species would accept humanity as an equal or see them as a threat to be eliminated. Admiral Sarah Mitchell, head of Human Space Operations, addressed the emergency session of the Terran Council. Her presentation included detailed analysis of galactic reactions to the Nexus Prime incident. "We are at a crossroads," Admiral Mitchell explained. "For decades, we have maintained a low profile to avoid provoking conflicts with established powers. That strategy is no longer viable. Every species in the galaxy now knows we possess advanced military capabilities." Council President David Chen raised the critical question that everyone was thinking. What are the projected responses from major galactic powers? Will we face coordinated resistance or can we expect new alliance opportunities? Admiral Mitchell's answer revealed the complexity of the situation humanity now faced. Intelligence suggests mixed reactions. Oppressed species see us as potential liberators. Established powers view us as either valuable allies or dangerous rivals. The Kethran Empire is likely to demand immediate satisfaction or declare war. Debate that followed would shape human policy for generations. Some council members advocated for immediate military buildup to deter aggression. Others pushed for diplomatic solutions and gradual integration into galactic politics. A few even suggested withdrawing entirely from alien contact until humanity was better prepared. But events were moving too quickly for prolonged debate. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy as species made their positions known. The Valdris Assembly formally requested a mutual defense treaty. The Tauri Confederation offered to share advanced medical technology in exchange for military protection. Even some hegemony worlds were quietly reaching out through back channels. Most significantly, a coalition of 12 species announced the formation of the Free Worlds Alliance, with an open invitation for humanity to join as a founding member. The alliance represented billions of beings who had lived under the threat of Kethran expansion for centuries. Emperor Vashitok received these reports with growing alarm. The careful balance of fear and respect that maintained Kethran dominance was crumbling. Species that had paid tribute for generations were openly defying imperial authority. Worse, they were uniting under human protection. "We cannot allow this alliance to form," the Emperor declared to his war council. "If these species unite with human military support, our empire will be surrounded by enemies. We must act before they complete their organization." General Karthek studied fleet deployment reports and strategic assessments. The mathematics were not encouraging for Kethran military planners. "My Emperor, our intelligence on human capabilities has proven completely inadequate. We do not know the size of their fleet, the extent of their technology, or their strategic reserves. Attacking them could result in catastrophic losses." But the Emperor's pride would not allow him to accept this new reality without a fight. The Kethran had ruled through strength for millennia. Backing down now would mean the end of their empire and possibly their species' dominant position in the galaxy. "Prepare the Grand Fleet," Emperor Vashitok commanded. "If these humans want war, we will show them what happens when someone challenges the Kethran Empire." The galaxy held its breath as two civilizations moved toward a confrontation that would determine the future of interstellar politics. Humanity had announced its presence with a demonstration of military precision. Now they would have to prove that their strength was more than just advanced technology and superior tactics. The age of Kethran dominance was ending, but what would replace it remained to be seen. 3 months after the Nexus Prime incident, Lisa Martinez stood before the newly constructed human embassy on the station. Her injuries had healed completely thanks to advanced human medical technology, but the scars of that day remained in her memory. She had become an unwitting symbol of the moment when galactic politics changed forever. The embassy was a marvel of human engineering and diplomatic innovation. Its walls were transparent aluminum that could withstand orbital bombardment, while allowing natural light to flow through elegant spaces designed for multi-species interaction. Representatives from 47 different civilizations now maintained offices in the complex. Lisa walked through the main reception area where humans worked alongside Centauri diplomats, Zephyrian trade representatives, and Arconian scientists. The sight still amazed her. 6 months ago, most of these species had been isolated and afraid. Now they collaborated openly under the protection of the Free Worlds Alliance. Ambassador Patricia Williams, the newly appointed human representative to the Galactic Council, greeted Lisa with a warm smile. The ambassador was a veteran diplomat who had spent decades preparing for this moment, though she had never imagined it would come about through military action. Lisa, thank you for agreeing to speak at today's ceremony. Your presence here symbolizes everything we've accomplished together. The ceremony was to commemorate the signing of the Free Worlds Charter, a document that established humanity as the military guarantor of peaceful species throughout the galaxy. 38 civilizations had joined as founding members, with more applications arriving daily. Lisa nodded and looked out through the embassy windows at the bustling concourse below. Where Kethran warriors had once terrorized civilians, now, children of a dozen species played together, while their parents conducted business in safety. The transformation was remarkable and profound. How are the Kethran adjusting to the new reality? Lisa asked. Though she suspected she knew the answer, Ambassador Williams' expression became more serious. Better than expected, actually. Emperor Vashtak's attempt to mobilize the Grand Fleet ended when half his subject species refused to participate. The Kethran military discovered that fear is not a sustainable foundation for empire. The attempted mobilization had been the Empire's last desperate gamble. When Emperor Vashtak ordered his vassal species to provide ships and troops for an assault on human space, the response had been shocking. Dozens of worlds had simply refused, openly declaring their intention to join the Free Worlds Alliance. Instead, without the industrial and military support of their subject species, the Kethran found themselves isolated and outnumbered. Their Grand Fleet, once the terror of the galaxy, had shrunk to a fraction of its former size as allied worlds withdrew their vessels. Admiral Mordak had been forced to return to Kethran space without firing a shot. The humiliation had cost him his command and reputation. He now served as a military attaché to the human embassy, a position that would have been unthinkable just months earlier. The Admiral has actually been quite helpful, Ambassador Williams continued. He's providing intelligence about Kethran military capabilities and helping us understand their strategic thinking. Apparently, many Kethran military leaders are relieved that the old system is ending. Lisa found this revelation surprising but encouraging. She had expected the Kethran to remain hostile and bitter about their loss of status. Instead, many seemed to be adapting to a galaxy where strength was measured by cooperation rather than domination. Jake Morrison appeared in the embassy lobby, his civilian clothes a stark contrast to the black armor Lisa remembered from their first meeting. The former Navy SEAL now served as security coordinator for the human embassy, a role that utilized his military expertise in a diplomatic context. Ms. Martinez, Jake said with a respectful nod, I wanted to thank you again for what happened that day. Your courage in the face of Kethran aggression gave us the justification we needed to act. Lisa smiled but shook her head gently. I wasn't being courageous, Chief Morrison. I was just doing my job. You and your team were the ones who showed real courage. Jake's expression became thoughtful as he considered her words. Ma'am, courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right even when you are afraid. You stood up to Vexitar when he could have killed you easily. That takes real strength. The conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Ambassador Veltar of the Centauri Federation. The alien diplomat moved with an energy and confidence that had been absent during their first meeting. Liberation from Kethran oppression had transformed his entire species. Ambassador Williams, Chief Morrison, Ms. Martinez, Veltar said with obvious pleasure. The ceremony is about to begin. Representatives from all 38 founding members are present and ready to sign the charter. They moved together toward the main conference hall, a space designed to accommodate the physical requirements of dozens of different species. The hall buzzed with conversation in multiple languages as historic agreements were finalized. Captain Helen Brooks stood near the podium in her dress uniform, representing the human space navy at the formal proceedings. Her ship, the USS Valiant, remained in orbit around Nexus Prime as a visible symbol of human commitment to galactic peace. Dr. Zeth Mara of the Arconian Science Collective approached the human delegation with obvious excitement. Her species had been among the most enthusiastic supporters of the Alliance, seeing opportunities for scientific collaboration that had been impossible under Kethran dominance. Chief Morrison, Dr. Zeth Mara said eagerly, "I have completed my analysis of human military technology. Your weapon systems are indeed decades ahead of galactic standards. How did your species develop such advanced capabilities so quickly?" Jake smiled and gestured toward the diverse crowd of alien representatives. "Doctor, we had excellent motivation. We knew that someday we would need to protect not just ourselves, but everyone who couldn't protect themselves." The ceremony began with formal speeches from each Alliance member. Representatives spoke of freedom from oppression, hope for the future, and gratitude for human protection. But the most powerful moment came when Ambassador Veltar addressed the assembly. "For centuries, my people lived in fear," Veltar said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall's translation systems. "We paid tribute to avoid destruction. We submitted to humiliation to preserve our lives. Today we stand as equals among equals, protected by those who ask nothing in return except our friendship." The signing ceremony proceeded with careful protocol as each species formally joined the Free Worlds Alliance. Lisa watched as leaders who had once cowered before Kethran threats now confidently committed their civilizations to a new era of cooperation and mutual defense. When the final signature was added to the charter, the hall erupted in celebration. Species that had been enemies or strangers just months before embraced as allies and friends. The transformation was remarkable and moving. Ambassador Williams took the podium for the closing address, her words carrying the weight of history and the promise of the future. "Today marks the beginning of a new age in galactic politics," she announced. "An age where strength protects rather than oppresses, where cooperation replaces domination, where the weak need not fear the strong because the strong have chosen to serve justice rather than themselves." As the ceremony concluded, Lisa found herself standing beside a window overlooking the main concourse. Children of multiple species played together while their parents conducted business in safety. Trade flowed freely between worlds that had been isolated for generations. The galaxy was becoming what it should have always been. Jake Morrison joined her at the window, his expression peaceful despite the weight of responsibility he now carried. The demonstration at Nexus Prime had been successful beyond anyone's imagination, but it had also committed humanity to defending billions of beings across the galaxy. "Any regrets about that day?" Lisa asked quietly. Jake considered the question seriously before answering. "About defending you? Never. About revealing our capabilities? Sometimes. We've taken on a responsibility that will define humanity for generations to come." Lisa nodded, understanding the burden that human leaders now carried. They had become the guardians of galactic peace, a role that required constant vigilance and careful judgment. "Do you think we're ready for it?" she asked. Jake's smile was confident and reassuring. "Ma'am, we've been preparing for this moment since we first looked up at the stars. Humanity has always protected those who couldn't protect themselves. Now, we're just doing it on a larger scale." As the celebration continued around them, Lisa reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A simple assault on a quiet translator had revealed the hidden strength of humanity and changed the course of galactic history. The galaxy had learned that sometimes the quietest species could roar the loudest when their values were threatened. And in that roar, billions of beings had found hope for a better future.